guys, Desolate Magic here. We've got an announcement coming out of Gavin Verhey, who is very into the Pauper community and one of the more tolerable people at Wizards of the Coast. He's also a member and I guess creator, if I remember correctly, of the Pauper Format Panel, or KFC. It's a bunch of Pauper enthusiasts from the community who know Pauper better than anybody at Wizards. Shocker, the players know better than them. I think we figured that out as of BFZ. And they've been making some good decisions. Pauper is a very, very healthy format. Not enough people played it, if you ask me. Very affordable, very dynamic, very fun, good power level. I mean, that's kind of subjective, but I love it. I love Standard Artisan a lot better, but now with Standard going to 3 years, it kind of ruined that. But you'd be surprised how tolerable things can get when you shave off the entire top end of the rares and the mythics. So Artisan, if you're not familiar, is uncommons and commons, whereas Pauper is eternal but commons. Artisan's a little more centralized and easy to build with because it's limited to just Standard, typically. So if you're looking for a fun format to play, but don't want to reach into the expense and dis-ease of getting cards of the Pauper world, let me just throw that one out there. So I thought I'd mention it, but they're making a ban of a card that arguably hasn't even been printed yet. The formal release date of Modern Horizons 3 is June 14th. Now, people have them. They had pre-release events. You could buy boxes at it. Some people somehow got their hands on them and already put them on eBay. WotC doesn't really care too much anymore compared to the absolute secret police that would have back in the 2013 era. But seriously, let's get to the core of this video. If that street sweeper goes past one more time, I'm about to lose my The street is clean enough. My mic is actually starting to pick that up. That's what they should ban from Magic, street sweepers. So this is kind of wild. All right, so we got the KFC, we've got Gavin, we've got a format that people like that's being way better policed, way more aggressively and quickly reacted to, and it has been a wild success. Every other format could learn from this. They might try adapting this to Standard if anybody played or gave a crap about Standard anymore. So Gavin does open this article with, while I may be the one writing this article, all 7 of us talk all the time throughout the week, or throughout every week, pardon me. We share deck lists, talk through event results and the state of the metagame, and share trends we're noticing in Pauper. We communicate online and in person as our members span 5 countries. We talk through every decision and what we're seeing to reach a conclusion. So I'm speaking for all of us here, and I share the results of many conversations and thoughts. Today we're coming to you with a unanimous decision. You don't see that often, everybody agreeing. We are banning Cranial Ram in Pauper ahead of it being released. So this is a black-red living weapon, which means when you cast it, you create a 0/0 token and attach it to it. Equipped creature gets +X/+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Equip 2, and this is a common. So a whole bunch of this set, when they're coming up with quote-unquote new cards, they decided to just power creep existing cards or sidestep it or shift it to a different deck archetype than it would normally be in and keep the card pretty much the same. I say that because here's Cranial Plating. Now, Cranial Plating is currently banned in Pauper, and that's it, to which half the audience always says, but isn't it also banned in Modern Legacy? No, that's Skull Clamp. So we'll just get that out of the way. So not much to really process here. They really wrote a lengthy article, but this enables Artifact Affinity a little too well. Now, they probably thought they calmed it down a little bit by making it 2 different colors instead of colorless, but not really. Are those 2 colors really known for Artifact Heavy? No. But does it matter? No. So as they put it, Cranial Plating has dominated multiple formats of Magic history in conjunction with the Artifact lands, and by the way, they're printing those in this set. It is very easy for this card to hit hard, and if you don't remove it, every single creature becomes a must-answer threat. So yeah, you just move it around, and just win. It's incredibly annoying, right up there with the Umbra cards, or at least some of them. It's kind of like Undying and Persist if that was even more annoying. And then the only weakness for equipment, not having a creature, well, it creates its own creature. So they recently banned all that glitters, I think a month or 2 ago, and it's pretty much for the same reason. It takes a theme and goes way too hard with it, and that theme is just having artifacts at all. All that glitters was having artifacts or enchantments at all, both of which were quite ridiculous. So they just go on to say, yeah, you either have removal or you don't. Makes the game polar, or as we call it, binary. I don't know why they're inventing new terms when everybody calls it binary conditions. It's kind of like Blood. You either are affected by it and care or have removal for it, or you don't, and that's about it. So they go through the pros and the cons, and they go way too into it. I'm sure they had a really long meeting. Who really cares? It's gone. And more importantly, it's gone before anybody can build a whole deck around it. Because if you build a whole deck around it, and then a week later you get rug pulled, you're going to feel pretty mad. Even if you got to play it for 6 months, it became problematic, and then you get rug pulled on it. Your deck is still gone. So a week ahead of time to say, hey, this is already gone, don't build with it, there you go. Everybody's happy, everybody's on the same page. That is the way to do a ban announcement. The whole let's wait and see what happens. Well, if half the time over like a 10-year period you're waiting to see what happens, then guess what? Half the time, usually for about 5 minutes, linear time cumulatively, the format is unhealthy and unplayable at a highly competitive level. That's why people leave every format. That's why the delay and mismanagement of Modern is ridiculous, and to say, well, in Standard we're going to lock it to only banning stuff once a year, that was the biggest mistake they've ever made. So they wrote that they've already predicted that on June 15th it's going to ruin that tournament. And I would say that they have enough expertise between them that that is absolutely 100% correct. There's some curve that they're already getting out in front of the whiners and saying, yes, you could just, quote-unquote, dies to removal. You could just use Cast into the Fire or Hydroblast to get rid of it. People could adapt, but should they have to? Is it fun, and do you have the room in your deck, and should you have to burn it just to stop one stupid card? No, 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 no. Just because it dies to removal doesn't mean anything. That is the stupidest crutch from stupid net deckers who don't know what they're talking about. So then they take this perfect announcement, perfect flow of information, perfect handling of an overpowered card that WotC shouldn't have printed, and completely kick it right in the balls, bringing it down to like a B+ instead of an A+ announcement, by ending it with, now I again want to stress, and if it seems like I'm saying this a lot, it's really important. This is not precedent. This is not something to expect again. Well, I'm expecting it again because letting things get out of control is stupid. No, not letting in a new concept because it might just by a couple percent, change the status quo. That's stupid, and it's going to make you not sell cards. People, whether they want to admit it or not, occasionally want to actually rebuild their decks. Or build a new deck, I should say, because they've been playing it forever, they're bored with it, they can get free wins with it, but they're bored with it. So unless you're grinding stuff online, don't care, you're not having fun, you're not in real tournaments, I think it's time for that deck to go. Even I'm a little sick of Candy Cane on Arena, even though I just got to Mythic with it again. It's been 4 years, okay? Sometimes winning isn't everything. They want to tell you that they got their eye on the artifact lands in general because those are awful and they're banned from Modern for a reason. I believe, and I might be wrong here, the original artifact lands were actually pre-banned from Modern. They were so problematic that when they created the format called Modern, they said, no, all of them banned. That's way too good. And then Artifact Affinity was still tier 1 in the early days without them. So they were 100% correct. Now they've reprinted them in this set. So there's a couple other cards that they got their eye on. I don't want to give it away. Go read the article if you're way into Pauper, but the big news is they pre-banned this. This is such a good move, and they should make it precedent, and they should do this all the time. I wouldn't just see every power card that might create a new deck and say ban it immediately. I think that's what he's saying to kind of level it out, but stuff this blatant, where it's just a functional reprint basically of a card that's already banned, nah, take action. Don't be a coward, don't wait and see. Don't say, oh, well, I'm going to make these people mad, but then if I do this, I'm going to make these people mad. Oh, decision paralysis. Nah, dude. Nah, don't play like that. So, good news all around in this ban announcement. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Hey, yo, I want to talk about Poker Faces, a secret lair
and more importantly, the commander deck that seeing these cards inspired me to create. And let me ask you a question. Do you have too much money? Do you have a photographic memory or an encyclopedic knowledge of every card? Do you hate other people and want them to hate you? Well, do I have a deck tech for you? 100 cards of pure spite. Let me show you. Zoom in. We start, of course, with our commander, who for this deck is going to be on that locus of creation. He's 4-color, everything but black, and the card draw on enter is nice, but we're mostly going to be running him for his second ability, which, luckily for us, is nice and easy to understand and remember. Clean and simple, no confusions as to what this card does, I'm sure. Now, we're going to run Rampant Growth and Harrow to trigger Omnath's Landfall ability, but also to act as ramp. Speaking of ramp, we have Soul Ring, because this is a commander deck after all. And interestingly, Luca, Bound to Ruin, who, as you can clearly see, has a +1 ability that adds red and green mana to help us cast our creature spells or activate creature abilities. Now, for card draw, we have both Tidings and Harmonize, as obvious includes that get the job done, but also Treasure Hunt and Ponder, which achieve a similar result but with an added touch of randomness for some spice. We also have BO1 Ranked, because not every card in our deck is an oldie, and Ajani, who lets us draw a card as long as it's a creature or other planeswalker, which is likely we already have Luca, but also a few others like Nihiri the Unforgiving and Tamio, Completed Sage. Both of whom bring value to the deck, but also have their own ways to gain us cards, so I'm listing them here under the category of card draw. For our next category, Path to Exile is almost an auto-include in this deck, as it exemplifies our main game plan of upsetting our opponents, in an attempt to make them wish they'd never played in the first place. Which is why we're also running Celestial Purge. It's not as good, but will specifically upset anyone who dared to run black or red cards against us. Condemn and Reciprocate aren't quite as situational as Celestial Purge, but also not as convenient as Path to Exile. However, they do achieve similar results, and so are included here too. These are all real Magic cards, by the way. As far as I can tell, this deck is totally legal, as long as you can remember what everything does, I suppose. And Wizards do keep insisting on printing more and more cards without any readable text, which is fine for simple, memorable, or iconic cards like Rampant Growth, but look at that separate variant. Let's play a quick game. I'll pick one. Coffin Queen. Look at that card. Now, do you know what it does? Let me know in the comments. I'll give you a second before I tell you. Pause the video if you need. Because Coffin Queen's Oracle text reads, you may choose not to untap Coffin Queen during your untap step. Spend 2 mana and a black and tap it to put a target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. When Coffin Queen becomes untapped or you lose control of Coffin Queen, exile that creature. Did you get it? Would you remember all of that without text? They don't pick the easy ones to remember. I have to assume the intent of these cards is to be confusing to play with. So okay, let's get back to that deck tech then. Now where were we? Oh yeah, targeted removal. We have Oxidize to deal with artifacts, Disenchant to deal with artifacts and enchantments, Beast Within to deal with any permanents at the cost of giving our opponent a token creature, and Nissa Ascended Animist to repeatedly destroy artifacts and enchantments at the cost of her loyalty. We have the classic Lightning Bolt and Burst Lightning, pulling double duty as both potential removal or single target damage to a player. But they're not alone, as we also have Incinerate doing the same thing, Searing Blast doing the same thing but with a nice synergy to Omnath's Landfall ability, Fireball doing the same thing again but on a larger scale if we have the mana, Flame Javelin also doing the same but without the need for red mana, Lightning Helix doing the same but proving you don't have to be mono red, and finally Psionic Blast to do the same again but without the need for red at all. Now, let's take a look at all of our cards so far. That is a lot of single target damage or removal, which admittedly isn't great in a multiplayer game. But if you're not looking to win and instead aiming to just tilt one person specifically at your table, this deck is perfect. Speaking of cards that will tilt someone, Counterspell is our next pick, alongside its more expensive cousin, Cancel. But what good is a deck with only 2 counters in it? So we're also running Solid for creature spells, Negate for non-creature spells, Hinder to tuck the card you countered, really upsetting some people, Mental Misstep for an early game counter, Mana Leak for an actually quite punishing soft counter, Mana Tide for a surprise counter in white or when tapped on blue, and finally, the GOAT, Cryptic Command, which you may just want for the card draw alone to be honest. And because Cryptic Command is clearly so versatile, as you can see, I'm also going to let's Recollect here too, which is just going to let us continue our previous spells again. Incredibly powerful, and frustrating for your opponents to watch, I'm sure. But don't worry, not every spell in this deck is single target. We're running Pyroclasm and Volcanic Fallout to deal mass damage, most likely upsetting any token decks. And if that's not enough, we obviously also have Day of Judgment and the pinnacle of board wipes, Wrath of God, for when things are really going poorly and you just need a clean slate. Wrath of God is the sort of card that can get away with being textless. This one is okay. Let's take this opportunity to have a look at all of our cards again. God, look at it. Just over 40 cards of nonsense so far. Be honest, we already went over this card, but do you remember what I said it did, or why it's in the deck? Imagine if someone was actually playing this deck against you. How would you feel seeing all of these cards? Again, let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe while you're down there. I, for one, would be miserable seeing all of these. I think I'd hate this deck even if I were the one playing it. Which I suppose was the very intention of it, and I did say at the start of the video everyone would hate this, so I guess mission accomplished then. Yay! Anyway, aside from Omnath, we don't have any creatures yet, so let's add some in. And what better creature for a landfall deck than Hellish Norn, Mother of Machines. I'm sure our opponent will love seeing all of our landfall triggers happen twice. And if that's not infuriating enough, let's add in Grand Cenobite too, because there's nothing better than playing against someone who just made all of your creatures -2/-2. This deck has a lot of instants and sorceries, so let's have Ginger Taxius Progress so we can double up on all of that goodness. And we'll add in Core Augur as well, because we're still a little light on card draw, and I'm sure our opponent wouldn't want us to miss out on casting all of these fun spells at them. Speaking of casting spells, Urabrask, Heretic Praetor, is here to give us an extra card at the start of our upkeep to cast each turn, and we're adding in his Hidden Alternate because our opponents will be thrilled to have their creatures enter tapped from here on out. But this is a lot of cards we're getting all of a sudden. Will we have enough ramp? Fear not, Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger is next, to make sure that we never run out of mana. And